In a year when a former First Lady didn't quite make it into the White House, Abu Dhabi welcomed the First Lady of American racing to the Sheikh Mansour Festival. During her time in the saddle, Julie Krone achieved more than any other female jockey in the States, or probably the world, riding the winner of the Belmont in 1993, and then returning from retirement with a Breeders' Cup success a decade later. Now happily retired from riding and with a new career as a motivational speaker, we weren't going to pass up on the opportunity of meeting her. Motivating, she certainly is. Well, we're honoured to have with us Julie Krone, who's a new ambassador for the Sheikh Mansour Festival. I'm going to embarrass you and say probably the most famous female rider ever.
I will take it, and I'm very, very grateful for that title. I've worked very hard for that. Thank you.
Indeed you did. And how has this all come about, the involvement with the Sheikh Mansour Festival?
Well, I went out to get my mail one day, and I got a letter from Lara through Kathy Smoke inviting me to be an ambassador. And it was like, it's the best timing ever because I'm in between doing little projects. My daughter is 11 years old, and I am full to the brim with passion for sharing any experience I've had in racing, especially with young women and girls. And mentoring is probably something I come by naturally. Like, I'm really looking forward to being in this position and teaching and being around the young riders.
You're the right person for the job, definitely. And we must talk about those experiences, because when you broke through and were the first woman to win a Triple Crown race, there can't have been too many other female jockeys out there, were there?
No, it's funny because in the beginning, lots of times I'd be in the jockey's room and I would be like the only girl in the whole room, and I'd be like sitting there for like the whole day. And then I realized after a while, when I became more busy, if I rode like all my races, I didn't really care what was going on in the jockey's room. And I only worried about my racing and my horses. And then about halfway through my career, 25% of the jockeys in the United States were girls. So I thought that was a really fun time for me. And then it's fluctuated in between. Like often there's like a lot of girl jockeys in the room, and then other times there's not so many. But definitely in the beginning, there were not so much prejudice as the uniqueness of it, like someone riding, and I think there was some opportunities, but then again there were some people that would just say, no, I'm not riding you just because you're a girl. I'm not going to ride females on my horses. But other people during the time frame that I rode in the 25 years, they changed their ways, and they oftentimes there were two trainers that would be like, I'm never going to ride a girl on a horse. One of them was John Veach, the trainer of Alidar. And then one day he asked my agent to come by so he could put me on a horse, and it was a grade 1 winner, and it was a horse that won a grade 1 race, and so it was pretty fun, and I never rubbed it in the guy's face like, you said you would never ride a girl.
And then do you think that what you did sort of made things easier for girls coming along behind you?
That is a good question when you say that, because sometimes I think I thought that, like possibly that I broke down barriers, or that people would say, oh, well, Julie Krone did it, kind of a thing. But I think racing is like an individual thing and individual experience. And oftentimes when you switch over from generation to generation, if you don't share the information, or if you don't continue to be progressive or have new ideas, then it seemed like some of the people that came up were like prejudiced again and not riding girls on horses. And one time I was standing in a shed row, and a guy was standing there, and he goes, oh yeah, have your agent come by and stuff. And I was just like a regular jockey. I'd just go in and say, like, hey Bob, how you doing today? And he'd be like, oh good, okay, bye. And then there was a girl there one day, and she said, oh, well, I want you to put me on a horse, like, and I'll gallop. And he goes, oh, I don't ride girls. And she was like, you ride Julie Krone all the time. She literally, like, she had the program, and she was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, oh, well, that's like different. And I was just like, I remember walking out, and I was perplexed by that. So I kind of don't know. I don't understand like how something like that how a person could say something like that and like have it be something that you would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but maybe it was just something he believed in, or like that he had like convinced himself, like maybe he was prejudiced, but then he was in a position where he had to ride me on the horses because I was leading rider. Possibly his owners would say like, oh, we'll ride the leading rider or whatever. So I don't know, it's like kind of funny how to answer that. Isn't that an odd experience for somebody to say something like that? So when people ask me that, I always think of the different versions. I think of other times too, like hundreds of girls I've met and hundreds of people I've met. So in turn that you've said that, possibly it inspired people, but it didn't actually break down barriers where a person was concerned that maybe had the racehorse, you know, like a person training a horse would say like, oh, like I'm not so sure where it is right now if I can ride a girl jockey on a horse without there being any, but I do know the feeling it was when I would go around during the years and people would say, oh, do you know how much you've inspired me? Or do you know how much that one time you did that one thing when I watched that just like, I was so rooting for you and stuff. So I know there's a lot of really good energy out there that did carry over, but not necessarily individually for each trainer and like how they perceive like if someone's talented or not, whether or not they're male or female.
Because it seems to me that even though you had huge success, Rosina Pravnik and also Michelle Payne over in Australia,
why is that gap in between, right? Don't you?
Big gap in between, and also it's still, the jockey's room is still, I don't know, 90% male.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Maybe by having little like get-togethers like this and things like this, and like it would be a situation where people will start to figure this out and keep inspiring people and letting them know that it's like, you know what's really cool is that Chantal Sutherland is here right now. Sometimes people think that because I'm a female or like her and I are so different and stuff that there would be like envy or jealousy or like, you know, cattiness and stuff. I'm completely the opposite. I think she's like the coolest person ever. I think she's really hip and really fun to be around. Individually, I know it inspires people, but as far as the point of the exercise, like, you know, saying, hey, look, everyone can do this, you know, as long as you're capable and talented, I don't think it really did that much.
Just sort of looking back at your career again, I mean, obviously the win in the Triple Crown win was huge. Breeders' Cup win. Any particular
You know why the Breeders' Cup was so cool for me? Because that's really cool. You should say that. So I retire, and I have a whole bunch of crashes. Like I had a couple crashes, and one of the crashes was so bad. And I had where I became afraid of riding, and then it went away after a while. Like all of a sudden I just woke up one day and it started to go away, and I was like, I was okay. So I moved to California, and now I'm in California. I've never ridden there. Nobody's ever seen me. No girl rider does really well there. You know, it's really a tough circuit. There wasn't even a proper girls' jocks room. I rode back-to-back races at Santa Anita, and I had to have them build a girls' jockeys room in 2003.
Goodness me.
So I could ride the card without running like a quarter of a mile back to the girls' quarters, some box they made of asbestos with like a 5-gallon tank to take a shower and stuff like that. And 2003, I woke up, I was in California doing TVG, and I'm watching, I'm commentating, watching the horses come out of the paddock every day. I'm like, I can beat these guys. And I don't know, something happened, and I woke up one morning and I was like, Jay, I said, I want to ride races again. You know, we had to have the talk. We had to have a serious talk. I was
going to say, quite a big commitment for both of you.
Right, you know what I mean? Like, but I had to really commit. Because when you commit to being a jockey, you are saying that you would trade your life, possibly 2 jockeys a year die, many are paralyzed, or a body part for like the chance to have that feeling of that connection with the horse, and that, you know, racing down the stretch, and especially those horses that when you're just pushing on their necks and just reaching for them and their feet fall and they reach as you reach, and you can feel them like when another horse comes up to them and they just dig in and they run on their own and stuff like that. That feeling, you know, is just something that you just never, it's like worth everything in the world to you at that time. So then I decided to ride at Santa Anita, and I remember walking around in the morning, and I literally had to start from the beginning. I am talking 10 after 5, like on my way, hit the road in the morning, every single morning. My agent was there, Brian Beach. He has Victor Espinoza, and I said, whoa, I've never had a jockey beat me to the track, like ever. And I've had 3 agents in my life, and all 3 of them have said that I'm my very best agent for myself. Like, so there's an element of hard work that I put in, like real hard work.
And personality.
Yeah. Well, I work really hard. Like, I show up, I'm there, and I'm there when no one else was there in the morning. Walking at Santa Anita, I was like, once in a while I'd look over and see a couple jockeys, and I would see every single trainer, and the reason being is because I didn't really know any of those people. So people knew me from the simulcasting and my numbers, and I was in the Hall of Fame already. I was in the Thoroughbred Racing Hall of Fame, and I literally had to beg for my first mount at Santa Anita. Beg for it. And sometimes I'd be walking around, I'd get this attitude once in a while, I'd be like, what the heck am I doing? These people should be like asking me to ride these horses, you know, but it wasn't happening. So like I had to make it happen, and I was not gonna let this not work. My first, like my thing at Santa Anita, you know, I was not gonna not let it work.
We've had a really good couple of years for American racing. Obviously, the Triple Crown just had a great Breeders' Cup.
So fun.
Where do you feel American racing is at the moment? Because it's been through a bit of a tough spell.
Specifically, I think there's some improvements in the handling of the horses. Having the horses stay around longer, being more responsible for them when they aren't useful anymore, like possibly even maybe letting them rest more and having them race again instead of like not like giving up on them, kind of. And the other things are interesting because I think some of the bigger tracks that have you know, some of them have settled at the bottom and some of them are raising up a little, and I think some of them that are raising up are really showcasing what they're like. That was just I would dare someone to try to make a better Breeders' Cup than Santa Anita. That was safe, it was beautiful weather, the facility is amazing, it's like so many pluses and everything. So coming off of that, I can say I'm pretty proud of it and pretty happy of where it is.